everyone, Amber here from So Majestic. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are sewing up as part of the Marathon Sewciety Sewing Marathon, the As You Wish bag from Kathy at K.dill Handmade. So thank you so much, Kathy, for allowing us to sew up your pattern. I'm absolutely obsessed. It was the first time that I made it and it came together so nicely. So I chose to do a turn lock instead of a magnetic. It also features a drop-in, or you can turn the bag, and I chose to turn the bag. The only change that I made is it does call for webbing for the strap and along the bottom here, but I made my own 1-inch straps out of the matching water resistant canvas, but everything else is according to the pattern. It does have a gusset, but these curves are so nice. They're not sharp that even if you're a beginner, I really think you can do it, and there's no binding. So please don't be intimidated to try. So I'll show you some of the features. After you open it up, this is my favorite part. It has a hidden slip pocket in the back, a slip pocket in the front, and then in the main compartment, there is a zipper pocket, and that is what we turn through. I did have to use a blow dryer. It is a very small turning space. So if you prefer to do drop-in, that is definitely an option. And on the back, there is a cute zipper pocket, which I love because when I carry my bag, I like sticking my phone in a pocket that's against my body. And the other thing that's really cool is how we put the straps together. There's no snap hooks, but they are still adjustable. And one thing I really like is I'm only 5'2", but I prefer really long straps, like 60 inches, and it fits perfect. I have plenty of space to adjust it smaller or longer, so I think it will accommodate everybody. So again, I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I'm going to have linked all the other tutorials today by all the sewists that are participating in the sewing marathon. So please make sure to check them out. And also I will have in the description some timestamps if you want to jump along. So I hope you enjoy. If you do, please consider subscribing or give me a thumbs up. It does help my channel grow and I appreciate it so much. Enjoy! Okay, so I have all my pieces laid out, and one thing that I love are these little labels. So I have them attached to all my pieces. I am using water resistant canvas for the front flap and all the linings. This Dolphin one is available in my shop, and it does not have the PVC backing. It has the PU coating. So I have interfaced it with SewFuse Plus and fusible fleece. For the rest of the bag, I'm using marine vinyl, so I only interface that with SewFuse Plus. It gives it enough structure, and I think it's working great. And as far as the rest of the water resistant canvas for all my linings, I didn't add any more interfacing as I feel it's already structured enough. Okay, so I have my 2 zippers cut. I'm using the sky blue teeth. I have 2 dolphin pulls, 4 rectangle rings, adjustable slider, a turn lock, and some rivets. I'm using glitter clips, Tex 35 thread from Wizardry Stitchery. I use it with a 90-14 needle, a ruler, scissors, marking pens, seam ripper stiletto combo, snips, double-sided tape, and a hand hole punch. Okay, so the first piece that we are working with is our exterior gusset, and I already have an interface, and I have drew a line down the center of the gusset and marking my midpoint because this is the piece where we would attach our webbing over it. Because I chose to use water resistant canvas, I'm going to have to fold it first. So originally I had folded it to center. I have it cut 2 inches. So that way when I fold to center, it would be 1 inch and fit my hardware. And I originally top stitched down each side, but then I realized, oh, I need to top stitch it onto my gusset. So what I'm going to do instead is I already have my center line marked. I am just going to use some double-sided tape, and because it's down the center, it's going to be out of my stitch line, which is very important because I'm sewing on domestic and hates double-sided tape. If you ever get skipped stitches, and you're using double-sided tape, that's probably why. So I only use double-sided tape very sparingly when I can keep it out of my stitch line. So what I'm going to do is now just fold this to center. The double-sided tape is going to hold it in place, and then we'll proceed from there. So I'm going to do the rest of this part off camera because you might be using webbing, but I just wanted to show in case you decided to make your own straps. Okay, so now for my next step, I have pushed this to center with the double-sided tape and have put my square ring on one side. I have also put some double-sided tape down the center of my gusset piece and marked the edge where I need to start and stop. So I am just going to carefully align this to the center. And I probably, I could flip this over and look a little bit better. I'm just using the feel of where the seams, so it might be off by a couple millimeters, but you're not going to notice it. And then when we get to the other side, I am adding my other square ring and again folding this back on itself. Because we need to make sure that we are stopping at that point that we have marked. And I'm just going to clip it to kind of hold that in place. So if I look like this, it's pretty centered. So now we are going to take this to the machine and we are going to top stitch all the way around the what would be webbing, or in my case, the water resistant canvas. And we're going to try to get as close as we can to these silver D rings or square rings. And I don't think I'm going to backstitch at the beginning and the end. I'm going to leave long tails and tie them off on the I just finished top stitching all the way around, and I left my tails starting beginning and ending. I did not backstitch. So on the back side, I am going to slightly tug on this and it will pull up my stitching from the front. And so what we're doing is we're just pulling our stitches, our tails from the front to the back so we can tie them off. And then if we look from the front, we cannot tell that that was the beginning and the end.
So it's okay.
All right, so we are finished with our gusset for now, and we are going to work on our outer zipper pocket. So we're going to start with the zipper. So I have my longer zipper here, and we are going to take our zipper tabs, and they should be cut so they lined up exactly even with the zipper tape. So we are going to clip them right sides together and sew at the given seam allowance. And then we are going to fold them open and top stitch down each side. You can see here, when I melted this, it burnt a little bit, but that char is going to be hidden by the zipper tab. So I'm not worried about it. Okay, so I'm going to do that for both sides, flip them open, and then top stitch. So now we need our back lower pocket piece, and I love it because I had it little tagged together so I know exactly what I needed. And I have my center marked here. I use silver marking pen, and then I'm going to take my zipper and I'm going to put it right side down. So I want my zipper opening left to right. So I'm going to look at it, make sure it's this way, and then clip my center. I mark the center of the zipper tape. I use silver, so it's like so faint. And I'm going to clip that down. And you want to make sure it's centered because our tabs are going to hang over a little bit on the left and the right side. And whenever I'm clipping, I move my zipper pull out of the way. I find if I don't, I get a little bubble, and that contributes to like wavy or uneven zipper tape. So once I have that, I'm going to take it to the machine and I'm going to base stitch in place along the top, moving my zipper pull out of the way. So now we need the lining. It was also clipped with this piece D, the back lower pocket. And we are going to put it right sides together with our vinyl, pinching our zipper tape between. So, or sandwiching, I guess you could say. So you can mark or line up the centers. I didn't put the center, but if you look close, mine match up pretty good on each side. So again, I'm going to clip this across. I'm moving my zipper pull out of the way as I'm clipping. And then I'm going to bring this to the machine. I'm going to change to a zipper foot, and I am going to stitch all the way across at the seam allowance given in the pattern. So now we are going to fold this open. So our vinyl and our water resistant canvas will be wrong sides together. So now I'm going to take it to the machine and top stitch along right here on our vinyl. So now we need our back pocket lining piece E. And again, I love that everything is labeled. It makes it so easy to find what I need. So we're going to put that right side up, and then the piece that we just top stitched right side up on top of it. So basically this is going to be our pocket lining. So your water resistant canvas, your lining should be right sides facing each other. So we want to clip along the top. So how I'm doing this is I'm matching up my edges, and then I'm going to clip all the way across the top where the top part of the zipper, again moving my pull, and we're going to base stitch this in place, but we're also going to go all the way around. So I'm going to base stitch across the top and go all the way around my panel, and that is going to hold all the layers together. So once I do that, so I am going to trim that along with my tabs at this time. And this way I know I am making sure that the tabs are cut at the right angle. All right, so I have the piece that we just worked on with the zipper, and now we need our piece A, our front flap. So we are going to take our flap. I've already marked the center, and we are going to put it right side facing down, lining up the center of the top part of our zipper. So our back zipper pocket piece is right side up, and our flap is right side down. The zipper should be pinched between them, and the flap should line up, if they're centered correctly, go all the way across. And we're going to take this to the machine, and I'm going to use my zipper foot because we are sewing at the seam allowance given in the pattern across that zipper. And again, moving our zipper pull out of the way as we do so. So now we are going to open this up, and we are going to top stitch along the zipper on this side here. If you want to give it a... So now we need our piece F, the full lining panel. So we are going to put it right sides together with that pocket piece, back pocket piece that we just made. You can match the centers and clip. Mine match up pretty good. I honestly don't really align centers unless it's like a gusset or something. So I'm going to clip all the way around, but this is really important. We are actually only going to be sewing the top part, the flap part. So I'm going to start here on the left, go all the way up and around, and then stop over here on the right hand side. The whole bottom edge we are leaving on sewn. So I'm going to clip the rest off camera as it's kind of a large piece, and I want to make sure that I have it lined up nicely. And real quick, before I take this to the machine to sew it, I should add that if you are using a magnetic snap, you want to install it before doing this part. Because I'm doing the turn lock, that's why I have moved on to this. So if you're doing that snap, make sure you check the instructions and add that before this step. So I am just taking my scissors and snipping into where the corners are. So that's like this corner here, or I guess I should say curves, and then here. I'm going to do that for both sides, and then we're going to turn it so it's right side facing out. All right, so I have just turned our flap right sides out. If we look on this side, the bottom is not stitched together. So I'm going to take this to the machine and top stitch all the way around the edge, only on the top flap. We're not continuing down sewing up the bottom. Make sure you have... Okay, so now it's time to install our turn lock. I have used my pattern piece to mark my center, and now this is the base of the turn lock. So I have used the bottom to trace the interior hole and the two screw holes on the left and the right. So in order to cut out the hole, I first tried the seam ripper and ended up having to hole punch it before being able to fit my scissors in. And it definitely takes some time, but I was able to cut it out completely. Okay, so I have just finished cutting out the hole. Honestly, trying to trim it back enough probably took me like 10 minutes. So this is the front side of my panel. So I want like the nice part to go on the front. So you can see that there's like, it's raised. So I am trying to line up that center to make sure that my hole is cut big enough around that metal comes up in the center, and you're not going to see it. You're not going to see any fuzzies or anything if you look through. So I'm finding it easiest to have this face down on my table, and then here's the back plate that's going to be on the inside of your flap, and you can line it up. You'll feel it. It doesn't click into place, but because that piece is raised, you'll feel when it's set on there. And then once you have it in place, we are going to attach the screws, and these are like they're flat on the end, they're not pointed, so that's why I hole punch. You could add some fray check to make sure that nothing is going to rip. This is water resistant canvas, so I didn't do it, but if you are using like a cotton woven, I highly recommend it. I'm also using this magnetic screwdriver. I got it at Micro Center. It's meant for like electronics, but I use it all the time in sewing because the screws are so small, and it being magnetic helps so much. Okay, so now that I got one side in, I'll do the other. and this is what it looks like from the front. So I'm really happy with it. I think it looks great. Honestly, this is the hardest part of installing a turn lock, is getting that center cut out. Okay, so I have the turn lock frame set. I'm going to move that to the side because now we need our PC, our front slip pocket, and I'm going to put the lining to the side. We are going to be installing the next part of our turn lock. So I already have my center point marked here. And now I'm taking the base of my turn lock and I'm taking the washer off. It came with it already on. And I'm going to use that to mark the slits for the rest of the turn lock. Sometimes there's a hole here that you can use to center. Since this doesn't have it, I'm going to kind of just eyeball. Actually, what I could do too is to make sure it's straight at least. Use my ruler to make sure that it is lined up pretty even. And then use my washer to mark my slit marks. So those slit marks, I am using a vinyl. So I don't need to put fray check. I'm just going to use my seam ripper to carefully just rip along, because that's where the prongs of my turn lock are going in. You have to be careful if you don't know your own strengths to make sure that you don't go and ruin your whole piece. So now with this turn lock, I have the two legs. I am going to push them through. And usually what I do with pieces like this, I'm going to grab some scraps here. These are scrap pieces of the water resistant canvas. Sometimes I use scrap of waterproof canvas or vinyl. But what I'm going to do is add some extra slits on these and use them almost like a washer. And I could trace them out and make it more accurate. We'll see how this goes without measuring. Perfect. So this is just going to give a little bit more support, just so those prongs don't rip through. So then you're going to put your washer on. And some people fold their prongs in. I always fold them out. In, I find, is very bulky. I guess, the worry is that they could be going out. They could come unfolded. But I mean, as you can see, they're pretty, I'm putting strength in to bend it back, especially this second one. So it's not going anywhere fast. All right. And so you'll see now we have the bottom part of our turn lock installed. So you can see that when we have our flap, it will twist and keep our flap locked down. Okay, so now we're working with our pocket piece C. And the other thing too is if you have some duct tape, you can put it over the back of the prongs. I didn't have duct tape, so I just used 2 layers of painter's tape. And it's just to help that the prongs don't pop through either your lining or your vinyl. So what we're going to do is take our exterior, have it right side up, and take our lining piece, put it right side down, line up the top edge. You can use centers and, mark the center, but I'm just lining it up. And then we're going to take it to the machine and we are going to stitch across the given seam allowance in the pattern. Okay, so I have just stitched my lining and exterior together. So now while I'm at the machine, I'm just going to add some snips into the curve. You do not want to clip your stitching. So I'm just going in like 1/8 of an inch, very small. And this just helps that when we fold it over, it will fold easier. Because we're going to flip this so it's wrong sides together. and then top stitch. We need our bag body, which is piece V, and I'm going to set the linings to the side. So we just need the exterior, and we are lining up both of these pieces. So for this one here, it is recommended that you take a ruler to make sure you're measuring that it's equal sides or equal measurements down on each side. So I'm just lining up the bottom. I'm going to clip it just to kind of hold it in place and then measure to make sure. So I'm going to fiddle with it off camera just to make sure it's even, and again, so I can get closer. So you're going to line up your front pocket piece on a piece B, and the same thing with our flap. And it might help, I'm going to mark the centers on both, and again, measuring to make sure that the same distance down. Okay, so I have just really taken my time and clipped these together, marked my centers, and measured down. So now I'm going to take them to the machine and base stitch in place along the edges of both. I have just base stitched around both sides, and I'm going to set them to the side for just a moment because now we're going to be working with our gusset, preparing that to attach it here. But one thing that I didn't do and I want to add before we attach the gusset is rivets. So I have this little tool here from Carolina Little Stitches, and it's 1 inch wide and it has options for double or single rivets. So I think I'm going to do 2 small ones. So I'm just going to mark this out and hole punch them. So normally what I do is I line up the edge with as close as I can get it to my rectangle ring. And I am going to do the rivets in that first hole. I'm going to do that for both sides. And I am going to hole punch, just turning to the smallest punch setting that I have. So you don't want to punch them too large. Okay, and I'm just going to pop the holes in both sides. And I'm going to do the other one off camera, but I'm going to show you this one on. So I also have this leather rivets kit. I have one from Amazon. This is also from Amazon, but I had ran out of silver in the other ones. So now I'm just going to check, I think the smallest size, because this is marine vinyl. It's not very thick. This is water resistant canvas. That's also not very thick. And you can see on this back side, it still pokes out quite a bit. So I'm definitely going to do the small, and I'm going to grab a piece of water resistant canvas or waterproof canvas just so I can add like another washer basically to the back. Okay, so I just grabbed this scrap of waterproof canvas, used my tool to mark the double holes, and I'm going to punch them. So this just adds an extra little layer because you don't want the posts of your rivets to be too long. And I just like doing it because it gives it another layer that the rivet would have to rip through to come off. So now I'm adding the little cap on the back to each one. And I have my rivet press here. The other rivet kit that I had comes with the tools to hammer them. And I have hammered, I have used a arbor press, and now I have the large press with the separate dies. It is a cam snap press, but the dies I got off of Amazon. So I'm just lining, I'm going to put the, what's it called, the back on, just so I can make sure that this rectangle ring does not get damaged by the press. And I'm just pressing down. You can feel them kind of pop together when you're doing it. You don't really feel that when you hammer them, but you can feel it with the arbor press and the rivet press that I'm using right now. All right, so they are both attached, and I'm going to repeat for the other side off camera. Okay, so I have just finished attaching my rivets, and I have marked the center of the wrong side of my gusset. So now I have my back piece right side facing up, I have my gusset right side facing down, and I've marked the center. So we're going to clip at the center and then work our way up around to the edges. Stitched all the way around. You could add in another stitch to help keep your vinyl from pulling, but it is a very small seam allowance, so I did not. Also, you can, just flip it like this to check to make sure that your curves and everything look nice, and I'm very happy with how it looks. So now we're going to repeat the same exact process with our other side. So I have my centers marked, and again we are clipping the bottom first and then the top on both the edges, and then working our way to the curves. And again, we're going to sew it the same way we did the other side of the gusset, and so the rest I'm just going to do in time lapse, since the process is the exact same. So I have just finished stitching the second side on of my gusset. Kathy does recommend that if you want, you can trim your seam allowances. I didn't do that because it is a pretty narrow seam allowance to begin with. But she also recommended you could cut notches into the corners. All I did was I used my pinking shears and I just clipped into them. So now that we have both sides of our gusset, you're going to turn this right side facing out. Okay, once you have it turned through, you want to make sure that you are happy with how your gusset looks. Evie had checked that back side. My front looks good except for right here. I'm being super picky, but you can kind of see where some of my base stitches are. So I'm going to flip that back out real quick and just hit that corner at a little bit deeper seam allowance, just so they're not visible. But that's the only part that I think I need to fix. All right, so for the next part of our bag, we're working on the interior. So I have both piece B's, which are the body pieces. So I have one with my center top mark already, and you're going to need your zipper overlay, which I have here. Mine looks a little bit different. I just rounded the corners. That's the only difference. And I marked with a silver marking pen the top center, but I will have to remove that quickly. So just double check that it will wipe off before you actually use it. So on the back, I have double-sided tape, and I have put that in the center of both sides of the overlay. This way it will not be in my top stitching line. So there's another method where you could just do like the pocket without the zipper overlay that is given in the pattern. I am doing the option obviously with the zipper overlay. I feel like they kind of are intimidating when you first start, but after you get used to them, they really are not that bad, and then I don't stress so much about my box. So what we're going to do is there's a measurement given in the pattern, and we are going to line up our zipper overlay. I peeled the tape, and we're going to stick it on. I'm going to do that off camera so I don't give away the measurements. So now we're going to bring this to the machine, and we're going to top stitch around the outside only at 1/8 an inch. And I'm going to leave my tails long in the beginning and the end without back stitching so I can tie them off in the back. You need to cut out the center box. So I'm just taking a seam ripper and I rip a line to get started, and then I take scissors and I cut. And I like cutting from the front because we don't want to accidentally cut into our zipper overlay, and that is so easy to do, especially from the back. Might be a little bit difficult to get your scissors underneath at first because of the double-sided tape, but just take your time and you're going to cut out the entire box. Okay, so I have just finished cutting out the interior box. You don't see any of the lining. We can set it to the side for a second. We are going to need both our interior zipper pocket panels, piece J, and then your other zipper tape and zipper pull. Okay, so I need one of my linings, and I am going to take my zipper and line it up with the top. If you are using a directional print, make sure that you are lining it up with the top. And then we're just clipping the zipper right side facing up, so our teeth are facing up. And we are going to take this to the machine and just base stitch it in place. Okay, so I have just basted the zipper in place. So now we are going to flip our zipper tape up and turn our piece over so we see the back side. And we are going to repeat the same process for our other lining piece. So our two linings should be right sides facing together. And again, clipping this and basting it in place, moving my zipper pull out of the way as I do so. Okay, so now that we have basted both of our linings in place, they should be facing each other. We are going to have to attach this to our lining where we did the zipper overlay. And in order to do this, it makes it really easy. I used to just like hold it on and hope for the best. And that's because I thought double-sided tape would get in my seam. But I realized that if I put the double-sided tape along the very edges, it stays out of my stitch and makes it much easier. So I'm going to prep for this next step by putting double-sided tape along the top and the bottom. Okay, so I have put the double-sided tape on the top and the bottom. I have peeled it away from the top because now we are going to center our zipper overlay. And so we want to make sure that our zipper is centered, because when we stitch around, we want to make sure that we can catch both sides. So I kind of take my time, and why I only allowed the stickiness to show on the top is because what I do is I try to line mine up first, stick the top, and then stick the bottom. So here I can kind of see, make sure that it is like centered here and here. And look at the back, because we're going to have to close up these sides. So I want to make sure that I have given myself enough room, which I have. So once I think like, all right, this is going to be good, then I can peel off this other side of double-sided tape, where if both were at once, it's kind of sticky and it's really hard to get it into place. It's also really hard sometimes to get the backing off. I try to just run my nail over it to catch the edge. And it can be a little bit difficult because it wants to like push up because of how we sewed it. It's like going back on itself. So just take your time. The nice thing is like double-sided tape isn't permanent, so you can peel it up if you need to move it or adjust it. And sometimes I realize that I put my zipper going the opposite way. So all that hard part, and I'm going to peel it off to flip it around. So make sure you have your zipper going the correct way. But that's how I center it. I'm going to center the rest off camera since I pretty much showed you how I did it. I just need to flip it now to make sure I have it opening the correct way. Okay, so now I have my zipper pull opening the correct way. It is stuck on. So now this is very important. We need to flip both of our panels up, because if we have it down, we're going to end up sewing our pocket closed. So we are going to put both of our lining panels up, and we are going to take it to the machine, and we are going to top stitch along the bottom only. We don't want to go around yet because we'll seal our pocket closed. So again, we're going to top stitch along the interior box on the bottom only. I just finished top stitching around my zipper box. So the first thing you want to do is open the zipper and make sure that you have not sewn your pocket closed. So when you open it up, you should be able to stick your hand inside. But we do need to seal up the sides of the pocket. So I'm going to take it to the machine, and I'm going to peel back the top so I can see the pocket underneath, and I'm going to sew down on the right side and on the left side over here, sealing the edges. We're leaving the bottom open as of right now because we are going to turn through that. And if you look, the one pocket is a little bit longer now because of the way we did our zipper pocket. So you can also trim this to make it even at this point as well. All right, so now that we have our pocket stitched up on the side with the opening down here, we need to attach our lining gusset. So I have my 2 panels. I've marked the centers of each, and I have my lining gusset also with the centers marked. And now what is going to be a little bit tricky if you are using directional fabric, make sure that you have it going the way that you want. So I'm going to do my back panel first, and I'm going to put it right sides together, matching up the center. That way when this is, opened, my dolphins are facing the correct way. So we are doing this similar to how we did the exterior. We are matching up the bottom center and then each exterior side, and then we'll work in the rest of the gusset. All right, and so I'm going to finish clipping this and then take it to the machine and sew around at the given seam allowance in the pattern. So I have just attached my second side of the gusset, and I have trimmed down and used pinking shears around the corners. I did not cut down at the top, just because when we attach it, I feel like it's going to make it easier for me to be able to clip everything. So we're not turning this right side out. We're leaving it just like this. So take a peek inside and make sure it looks exactly how you want it to. And once you're happy with that, we are attaching our exterior and interior. So our interior needs to be wrong sides out. You want to open up your zipper fully because we are turning our bag through this hole. And if you forget to open your zipper, you're going to have some trouble. And then our exterior, we are leaving right side out. We need to tuck in this pocket though. And Kathy recommends tucking it down into like this hidden slip pocket. Or she recommends rolling it first, so definitely do that. And then tucking it down inside. And this is so we don't accidentally sew our flap into the bag. So you want to definitely lower than your back of the bag because this is where we're going to be sewing. So once you have that tucked in, you are going to put your exterior inside of your interior. So it's definitely a snug fit, so make sure that you take your time. And then we are lining up our sides first, matching the seams, which I nested them, and then clipping around the rest of the bag. Then taking it to the machine and sewing at the given seam allowance all the way around the top. Okay, so I have just sewed all the way around the top. I'm not trimming the seam allowance at all. So now we have to turn the bag. So we are reaching through our exterior pocket inside and gonna pull it through. And now this is kind of a small pocket. So we want to be very, very careful that we're not busting any stitches open. So I'm gonna... Okay, so I had to go use a blow dryer to help turn it, and that little bit of heat just makes the vinyl so much more malleable. So now we just have to top stitch around and seal up our pocket. So you can kind of like roll it between your hands to get the edge. What I like to do is stick my hand inside the pocket and reach up behind the lining and push out. So I start with the front, since that's the further away from the pocket and a little bit harder to get to, and then I work my way all around. So you're gonna go all the way around, pushing out your seam, and then we are gonna top stitch around the bag at the top stitch length. If you wanted to, there is also instructions for a drop-in lining, which makes it so you do not have to turn it through the interior pocket. And as you okay, so I just finished top stitching around. Really happy with how it looks. So just double check that you are happy that everything is pushed out on the bottom, all your edges, because we are going to seal up our pocket. And once we do that, it makes it harder because we can't reach into the bag anymore. So once you have it the way that you want, you're going to pull out your interior pocket that has the opening, and we're just going to tuck the lining in. What I usually do is try to bend the edges, like the corner, and tuck it under a little bit, and then the rest kind of wants to fold in with it. And so I'm going to clip all the way across and then take this to the machine and just sew as close to the edge, like 1/8 an inch to the edge, just to seal our pocket closed. Okay, so I forgot to hit time lapse as I sewed across, but I just sewed across at 1/8 of an inch. And now we are going to tuck that pocket back inside in that interior zipper pocket. So that actually completes our exterior of the bag, but we have one more step. We have to finish the rest of our straps. Okay, so if you're using webbing, great, you do not have to do this step. I wanted to make my own strap, and I didn't have webbing that matched, so I wanted it to be the dolphins. So I have my 3 pieces cut to the same length that would be the webbing. It's just the material. So we're going to follow a similar process where this we just did folding to the center. We are doing a 4-fold. So all 3 pieces is the same way. So I'm going to show you on one of them. So I have cut this 4 inches wide because I want it to be 1 inch at the end. And I have drawn a faint line in silver down the center. I use silver because you can't see it on the other side. So we're going to fold each side to center. So we are folding the long edges into center, as well as the short edges in on the side about 1/4 of an inch. This leaves it so we do not have any raw edges. Then we are folding it again onto itself, which will create that 1 inch strap that we need. And I'm going to repeat this for all 3 sections of strap that I cut, and then top stitch around the outside for all of them. Just finished sewing on my 2 smaller straps and my larger strap. So we're going to start with the smaller. We have 2 more rectangle rings and a slider. So if we're going to start with our 2 smaller straps first, we are going to, on one end, put it over the rectangle bar. Mine has like a little, they're not welded right here. So I'm covering that piece and folding it back on itself. And now you can, because the edge is not raw, I am not going to fold it under twice. But if it is, you could do that. And I'm just placing a clip here because now what we're going to do is we're going to take our bag and attach the side. So that way both of our small straps are going to look like this. So what I'm going to do is you could just rivet this on. I'm always paranoid that rivets can pop, even though you hear it click in. So I'm going to take this to the machine and sew one line of stitching holding each of these together, and I'm going to add rivets. So I'm going to do that for both the left side and the right side of the bag using the small straps. Okay, so I've just finished attaching the straps on both sides. So it should look like this. So now we need to make our adjustable strap. So this will be your longest piece of webbing. And we are going to make it adjustable. So you need your adjustable slider. So you are going to go up and over that center bar, so it looks like this, and pull it back on itself. And so now I'm going to take this to the machine and stitch a line across, so it's only going over the center bar. So we need to secure it. So again, I'm going to stitch one line across and do the rivets to match. Okay, so I have just folded this back, sewed my line, and added my 2 rivets. So we're not using snap hooks, we're using the rings that we already have. So I'm starting on my left hand side, and that's because when this folds back, I mean my right hand side, and that's because when I fold this back, I want the dolphins to be facing the proper way. If I start on the left, they would be upside down. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure my strap is not twisted, and neither is my long one. I'm going through the rectangle ring on the right. So if I look like this, again, not twisted. So I'm going through. Here's my slider. I'm going up on the right hand side, over the center, and down on the left. So from the side, it looks like this, and I am pulling. So that is creating our adjustable strap. So we're not putting any rivets or anything on the right hand side. Now I am on the left hand side. I am going to put my strap over the rectangle ring, fold it back on itself, and then our very last step is we're gonna stitch this again at the machine and add our rivets here, and that will create your adjustable strap. Double check before you do any of that if you are using directional fabric or webbing, it's going the correct way, and that your strap is not twisted. Alright, so I have just attached the center of my strap to that left hand rectangle ring, and that completes our bag. Alright, we have just finished up the As You Wish bag from K.dill Handmade. Thank you so much, Kathy, for allowing us to sew up your pattern for the video. I absolutely love it. I'm so happy with how it turned out. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing or giving me a like. It really does help my channel grow, and I appreciate it so much. And I hope you're enjoying the rest of the videos that are part of the sewing marathon. I will have them all linked in the description below. So again, enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye!